He was a, even Richard Nixon was a man of integrity who strived to serve his country to the best of his ability. Okay, then the bones whiten, burnt offerings end with ashes. So giving is a doctrine of fools and so on. Then the last sentence is the key point. Fools and the wise are alike cut off and annihilated with the breakup of the body, and after death they do not exist. So that is the main, you say, the thrust of the first view. The second view doesn't have that statement attached to it. So this view seems to be, the point of emphasis is not that there's no continuity, so much that there's no continuity beyond death, but that there's no real validity to moral distinctions, that they're just maybe purely conventional, just a matter, maybe this is almost like a moral relativism, that different people have different views about what's good and bad, but there's no objective validity to these different opinions.
So it's really more focused on this life, that it doesn't matter what you do in this life. It isn't really.
It seems so.
It's really looking at consequences in future.
It seems so, but there is the way the person who's reflecting on them pulls out, develops his moral reflections. It seems also that it can have implications for the next life. But we never, at least in the text, I haven't seen this view connected with a specific statement about whether there is an afterlife or not. Okay, Tracy?
Why wouldn't he just come out and say that he knows? Why does he set up the argument?
You mean, why does the Buddha do that?
Yeah.
I guess he's trying to, he's not trying to impose his authority on the people who are listening to him. Because these people at the point where the discourse begins, they're not his followers. So he's not saying, you've taken refuge in me, I'm the Buddha, I'm the one who knows and sees. But probably different teachers came to passing through this village and gave discourses, and so these people would have been exposed to different teachings, and they don't know which to accept. And so the Buddha is just trying to lay down lines of reflection that they can use to decide what kind of views to accept and what to reject, without basing the views on his own authority as an enlightened one. Okay, Richard?
Yeah, is there a reason that this isn't in the Digha Nikaya? Because the Digha Nikaya generally has dialogues with non-Buddhists.
Yeah.
And this is kind of odd in the Majjhima Nikaya, isn't it?
The principle for, at least the theory, the principle for distinguishing texts between the Digha and the Majjhima is length.
Yeah.
So apparently but this seems pretty long to me.
It's long.
And I guess that to some extent decisions were a bit arbitrary. It could be in some of the other early schools, I'm not sure about this, this could have wound up in the Digha Nikaya, or their counterpart of the Digha Nikaya. I'm not sure. But in the form, if you take suttas in the Digha Nikaya in the form that they've come down to us with elisions of repetitive passages, some of them are shorter than this discourse. So I don't have a definite answer. Yeah, indeed.
I fear to ask the question.
Never fear.
I dare. I got two questions. Well, the first question is, am I right in my understanding that even if you behave beautifully
Yeah,
in this life, but you don't believe
yeah,
in heaven and hell,
yeah.
that it's not going to end well for you?
This is a point, I brought this up the last time. it's an important point. It seems to me nowadays that, probably because of the influence of science and sort of the materialistic presuppositions of science, that there's a widespread disbelief in other realms of existence and the continuity of life or consciousness beyond death. But there are many people who are philosophical atheists, philosophical materialists, who still uphold very high standards of ethical conduct. And so my assumption is that even if one disbelieves in any kind of afterlife, but if one does uphold high ethical standards and acts in accordance with them, when things are over in this life, one is going to come into a favorable or happy state of rebirth. And I know from past experience in a particular Asian country, I don't think this is true about other Asian Buddhist countries, but there are people who are declared Buddhists, who will wholeheartedly accept Buddhist teachings, go to the temple on the Buddhist holidays, make offerings of flowers, fruits to the Buddha statue, go to the temples to offer food and other requisites to the monks. But when they get back home, when they're involved with business, they're stealing, adultery, slander, false speech, even could be killing. And so even though they might accept and endorse the doctrine of karma and its fruit, but I don't think that they're going to receive favorable results.
The other follow-up question, please.
Yeah.
Who decides on the consequences? How do these consequences? I mean, I can see it in real time.
Yeah.
There's consequences if you steal something. Yeah, you go to jail. There's consequences.
Yeah.
Yes.
If the judge decides.
Yeah. Who decides? How
Yeah.
does the decision get
Yeah,
made?
there's no, so let's say that there's no person or being with power sort of looking over and evaluating, this guy did good actions, this guy got 60 points of good actions, 40 points of bad actions, where do I send him? But it's sort of the, how do you call it, the self-functioning, naturally functioning law of karma that determines that good actions produce favorable results, bad actions produce undesirable results, that a certain types of unwholesome actions will negate certain types of wholesome actions. So it's all working almost like the laws of thermodynamics or the laws of motion. If I throw a ball against the wall at a particular angle, you could say, who decides that the ball is going to bounce back at a 30-degree angle or a 40-degree angle? Nobody decides, but it's the way the laws of motion work. And so there's a similar law that holds sway over the workings of morally significant action, the law of karma.
Thank you.
Any further questions? But maybe just to extend a little bit, you could raise the question, if you plant the seeds of roses in one bed of soil and the seeds of daffodils in another bed of soil, who decides that the rose seeds are going to turn into roses and that the daffodil seeds are going to grow into daffodils?
The deer and the birds.
Well, the deer decide whether, supposing that they don't get to eat the seeds,
Exactly.
that the seeds remain there. It's the law of nature. Or, well, let's say husband and wife have relations, and then the egg gets fertilized. Who decides which genetic characteristics of the father are going to get into the child, which genetic characteristics of the mother will get into the child? How will they balance each other out? Nobody decides, it's just the work, we say the laws of genetics determines that, which is really just a sophisticated way of saying we don't really know. At least I don't know, maybe biologists know.
You mentioned that in one Asian country, somebody could adopt the view,
Yeah.
and then their actions
Wait, take the microphone.
could adopt the view, which would be in keeping with Buddha's teachings.
Yeah.
But in fact, their actions were different. But is that really adopting the view?
Yeah, this is a point one could sort of debate, at least in theory. You know, if you ask them, do you accept such and such a view, they'll say, yes, I do. But their actions, in a sense, betray, say that their actions belie their beliefs. So they, even though they might profess the view, but they really haven't taken it into themselves.
Isn't that the point of the view?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Yeah. But take the microphone.
People aren't necessarily entirely rational all the time.
Yeah.
Some people are more consistent than others. Some people have habitual ways of behaving that are better habits than others. They both may have the same belief, but one person's habitual habits incline him to behave well more often than another person.
That is actually true as well. Yeah, it is true. Yeah, so maybe I have to sort of backtrack and say that it is possible that the person can intellectually accept a certain view, but...
And he may even have remorse after...
Exactly.
Not after indulging in some vicious gossip. Because, I shouldn't have said that.
Exactly, yeah.
But he's had the habit of gossiping.
Yeah, that is very true also. Yeah, good point. Okay, let us continue because I want... Oh, okay, we'll take one more question.
I didn't understand when the Buddha says, let me grant that in the case of doing and not doing, that not doing is correct.
Yeah.
And then he says, but the wise would disparage you.
I know.
What does it matter if it's correct?
Excuse me?
Well, what would it matter if the wise disparage you? If the view is correct?
Yeah, that occurred to me too. But it's just a way of reasoning, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let us continue because I want to try to finish this sutta today. Okay, now we come to the third pair of wrong and right views. And this was a view which was, at least the wrong view, which was widely expounded by one of the Buddha's adversaries, whose name was Makkhali Gosala. Okay, now, this is on page 513, and this is called the doctrine of non-causality. It's, in Pali, it's called a hetukavada. Okay, and this is also known as, the way Makkhali Gosala expounded it, niyativada, the doctrine of predestination or predetermination. The view that people or beings are predetermined in their destiny by fate, destiny, or nature, and so their actions really have no effect upon their development. So the view goes, there is no cause or condition for the defilement of beings. Beings are defiled without cause or condition. There is no cause or condition for the purification of beings. Beings are purified without cause or condition. So here we actually have the two major projects, or two major concerns of the Buddha's teaching. One is with defilement, and the other is with purification. And in the Buddha's teaching, defilement is traced to causes, at least to the most fundamental cause is beginningless ignorance. It's from beginningless ignorance that all of the defilements arise, and from the defilements that unwholesome actions arise. And then the Buddha's teaching is concerned with purification, or the elimination of defilements, and that takes place through cultivating the causes and conditions that eliminate defilement. That is, by practicing the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the 7 factors of enlightenment, the Noble Eightfold Path. And so this view that there's no cause for defilement, no cause for purification, is in a sense undercutting the two major concerns of the Buddha's teaching. Okay, then this proponent goes on to say, there is no power, no energy, no manly strength, no manly endurance. In other words, that there's no point in making any kind of effort because one's destiny is fixed. So he goes on to say, all beings, all living things, all creatures, all souls are without mastery, power, and energy. They are molded by destiny, circumstance, and nature, and thereby they experience pleasure and pain in the 6 classes. In this theory, there are 6 classes or realms of existence. I think that they're somewhat different from the Buddhist 6 realms. But beings, according to this theory, go from one life to another not because of their karmic actions, but because of destiny, nature, or fate. And so, according to this teacher, what they say is that they use the simile of a ball of thread, and you take the end of the thread and you throw the ball, and the ball just keeps on rolling and rolling and rolling, till when the ball finishes rolling, all of the thread is unwound from the ball. And so they say, in the same way, living beings are determined by fate or destiny to wander through samsara, and when it's their destiny to fully unwind all of their predetermined realms of existence, then they gain liberation. And so whether one is a wise person or a fool, a good person or a bad person, that doesn't matter, because one's deeds, one's effort has no effect on one's destiny. When the time is up, one is liberated, whether one is a fool or a wise person. Okay, then there are some teachers who are directly opposed to this view. These are like the Buddha, who say there is a cause for the defilement of beings, there's a cause for the purification of beings, there is power, energy, manly strength, manly endurance, and it is not the case that all beings and so on are without mastery, power, and energy, that they're molded by destiny, circumstance, and nature, and thereby experience pleasure and pain in the 6 classes. Okay, those are the two opposing views. Then the reasoning, it's exactly the same as in the previous type of reasoning, so we don't have to go through all the steps. But basically, what the Buddha endorses and advises to others is to accept the belief that there is a cause and condition for defilement and purification. If one accepts that there is a cause and condition for defilement and purification, then one will have a motivation for striving to overcome the inner defilements and striving to practice a path that will lead to purification. Okay, any questions about this view? Okay, then we'll go on to section 4. Now I'm on page 516. Now we're moving beyond the contrast between wrong views and right views regarding the basic principles of ethics, and now into views about higher states of meditative experience and higher realms of existence. Okay, so here we have some ascetics who hold the view that there are definitely no material realms, no immaterial realms or formless realms. So what are the formless realms? Well, these are called the arupa dhatu or arupa bhava.
What is the distinction between bhava and dhatu?
Really, here they are almost identical. Maybe you could say that bhava signifies the concrete state of existence within the realm, and dhatu signifies the realm itself. Okay, now, according to Buddhist cosmology, the universe of sentient beings is divided into 3 tiers or 3 levels. One is the level which we call the desire realm or sensuous realm, in which what predominates is sensual desire. So the human existence belongs to the sensuous or desire realm, along with the animal realm, the realm of the hell realms, the realm of afflicted spirits, and then above the human realm there are 6 heavenly realms in which sensual desire is still present. Above the desire realm there is another realm called the form realm, in which there's still material form, still substance or matter, but sensual desire has been attenuated. So the beings in the form realm enjoy very deep states of meditative bliss, but they still have physical bodies that can interact with one another. Above the form realm is the formless realm. And in the formless realm, there's no substance or matter at all. But these are 4 planes of existence in which the living beings consist entirely of mind. All their experience is purely mental experience. There's no perceptions of matter, no physical bodies, no perceptions of matter. And these form realms are the realm of the infinity of space, or the plane of the infinity of space, the plane of the infinity of consciousness, the plane of nothingness, and the plane of neither perception nor non-perception. Don't ask me to describe what life is like there. Yeah.
Those sound like the higher jhanas.
Exactly.
But can't one in the desire realm achieve those higher jhanas?
One can achieve those meditative states in the desire realm. Now, the point is that all the realms or planes of existence, or all realms of existence, are in a sense the manifestations or consequences of the karmic activities of living beings. So we ourselves have done in the past karmic activities which have led us, directed us into the human realm, into the human existence, into the desire realm. But in the human realm, we're capable of creating karma that can lead to any of the other states of existence. So in the human realm, we can create the karma that will lead to be engaged in really bad, heavy, unwholesome actions. Then we create the karma that could lead to the hell realms. Or we could create, by practicing generosity, helpfulness, good, virtuous conduct, we could create the karma that will lead to the sense sphere heavens. But then, by developing higher meditative states, what's called the jhanas, the meditative absorptions, that is generating the karma that leads to rebirth into the form realm. And then beyond the 4 jhanas, there are 4 other meditative attainments called the formless or immaterial attainments. And attaining those meditative states and gaining mastery of them creates the karmic disposition for rebirth into the formless realms. And then which particular formless realm one will be reborn into depends upon which of the formless meditations one masters and practices most often, delights in, and generally abides in. Okay, and these various meditative states were apparently known to yogis and contemplatives in the Buddha's time, even before the Buddha appeared on the scene and started teaching. Probably you've all gone through the sutta, the story about the Buddha's quest for enlightenment, when he trained before his enlightenment, he trained under 2 of the famous meditation masters of his period, and one of them, the first one that he went to, led him to master the attainment of nothingness, the 3rd formless attainment. And then the other teacher that he went to, the second one, led him to master the 4th formless meditation, the base of neither perception nor non-perception. And yet the Buddha wasn't satisfied with those attainments because he saw that they were just conditioned meditative states of samadhi, which would lead back to the realms, which would keep him within the cycle of birth and death. And he was seeking liberation from the complete cycle. And so for this reason, the Buddha left his meditation teachers and went off to discover his own path to enlightenment. Okay, so these meditative states were known to some of the yogis during the Buddha's time, but apparently there were others who were skeptical about the existence of these realms. Okay, so here the Buddha begins by saying that there are some recluses and Brahmins who hold the doctrine that there are definitely no material realms. And then there are some teachers who are opposed to them and say there definitely are these formless or immaterial realms. Okay, so these are the 2 opposed doctrines, and then this is how the wise man reflects. Okay, first he considers that there are some teachers who say that there are definitely no immaterial realms, but that has not been seen by me. So he hasn't been able to determine for himself that there are no immaterial realms. also there are some ascetics who hold that there definitely are immaterial realms, but that has not been known by me. Okay, so since he hasn't been able to ascertain either of these positions for himself